I can't wait to show you my toys.
There's a Nash, Sunbeam Talbot, Sunbeam Talbot, Alvis, 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 Alvis. More bloody Alvises than the Gold Nugget Casino in Las Vegas in 1975. But anyway, I'll at least be able to do 4 different colour schemes for the Alvises. 2 obviously different schemes for the Sunbeam Talbot, and the Fraser Nash will obviously be a standalone. So, and why am I doing these? Well, you'll see soon why I want to do all these. But for now, yeah, 7 British sports cars, all minus their windscreens. And that's going to be an interesting challenge because I don't see logic in paying the ridiculous amounts of money that people are charging for little slivers of plastic to replace them when they're actually quite simple. And I might even be able to do better. But that's going to be a bit of trial and error on the windscreens. So yeah, missing a few headlights, which I've got. I've got all the headlights that I need. Just a tip, if you are ordering headlights, check the seller very carefully. Check the headlights, check the pictures of them. Repro headlights from some people actually come out a little bit smaller than originals, which wouldn't be too bad if you needed 2 headlights. But if you've got models that are missing just 1, it will stick out. But if you can get some good reproduction headlights, and you can see the ones on the left are the repros. They're actually fantastic, they're really good. Right size. So yeah, be very careful when you're shopping around. So free plug for this guy, I don't know him. t.randall@sky.com. I believe he's in France and on eBay. So have a look for his stuff because yeah, I've got a couple of things. I think I got the decals for the Morehouse Jams van from him, but he also does good quality headlights. Still have not cracked my Pyrex jug. Well, of course not. How stupid would you have to be to use a vase or a fruit bowl? Some people. This is where the only real work is. There's looks like they've all been dropped on their noses at some point, these Alvises. There's a crack in the guard there and a small piece missing at the bottom over here. This one's got a pretty sizable chunk missing, and the one right beside it, it's got a piece missing there as well. So I will build them up with layers of super glue and baking powder. And that'll be the next step for you to watch. Now you don't want to go too aggressive too early. You just want the basic outline of the repair and just use standard filler to improve the quality of the finish. So you want just the basic shape. Just find sandpaper. This is just about getting the right profile and you can already see that there's a bit of difference there, so it's a much sharper corner there than it is there, so that very tip of the corner just has to be built up. Yeah, so I've built that corner up. It's a bit closer to the shape of the other one on the other side now, so now I'll just grind that down and reshape. Okay, we're part of the way through. That's the repairs in their crude state, and the general shape is there. It's now just a question of getting everything to line up. And just using the various bits on the little Dremel machine, a coarse one to get away the bulk, and then trying to find one that's got a nice straight edge on it for creating this edge along here. But we'll get there, if not with the Dremel, with the file and just doing it by hand. That is, it's a mad, 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 mad world on in the background. Gotta be one of the best movies ever. The money's under the big W. Terry Thomas. Yeah, a lot of hand picking and shaping of this lip along here at the repair point. The super glue and baking powder is pretty sturdy, but you can just, if you're not too careful and unlucky, it can just flick off the whole thing. And you can be shaping something for a long time and then it just disappears. So you still need to be very careful. Getting close though, it's still a bit too chunky. Take some more off the bottom. Getting there. Okay, just throwing a coat of primer on, always best to do that. It will bring out all the flaws. So you're seeing these at the same time I am, first time really. It's I haven't had a look at these. I'm looking through the phone here and thinking to myself, I need a camera, but other than that, that one's alright. That one, yeah, look, really, there's a little bit of a bulge there. But you know how these were when they came out of the factory, their castings were pretty ordinary. And this one, it's still a bit too built up there. But really, they're all issues that conceivably they could have been born with. So I'll maybe just do a little bit of tidying up, and these ones are ready for paint. And then I'll get on to these things. There, 3 down, 4 to go. Here's the 7 primed, largely ready for paint. Still some anomalies on some of them I'll fix up. Bit of filler and a bit of sanding still required, but so they're the 2 Sunbeam Talbots. That's the Fraser Nash. And these are the 4 Alvises. And these are the, well, 3 of these needed significant front end work. But can you spot the odd one out? It's this one. Have a look at these headlights. They are just totally different. You've got a depression in the top at the back. And they're the original fitting. I checked underneath. They are just odd looking compared to the other cars. So who knows? Maybe it's an early one. Maybe they dropped a few out of the mold and with this kind of headlight and didn't like it, and they were quickly replaced with what would be considered the production run. Who knows? But interestingly, I also found when I was cleaning all the axles and wheels, these brass axled Dinky toy wheels, and if you look at the finish, they look factory. Or maybe this was some of my dad's handiwork. He was re-axling his own cars back in the 80s, and he was a plumber by trade, so he would have had plenty of brass rod. I don't know, has anyone else ever heard of a very small quantity of Dinky toys ever being released with brass axles? Who knows? I've never seen it before. Anyway, I'll put them on this anomaly here. Okay, windscreens. This is a test. So if it's made the video, it's worked. You would be familiar with these CD cases. The plastic of the lid is, I would say, a little thicker than the original, which I think is a good thing because the originals are quite flimsy and weak and deform easily. If you've got any Dinky sports cars with the original windscreens, and have a look, yeah, I'm sure you'll agree it's pretty ordinary stuff. I don't like to depart too far from original on my rebuilds, but in this case I've never liked the look of them. Even on mint box stuff, just from years of being in a box, they just sag and they've got bent corners and they're just not a good look. So anyway, I've made some measurements. This is for the Alvis because they'll be subtle differences with all of them probably. So that's the top of the screen there, and well, let's use this one, top of the screen, top of the windscreen there at the top of the tape, and that's the tab that sticks through the base plate. I think that's right. If it's wrong, the beauty of it is if my measurements are a bit off, I can just cut a bit more off the top. Anyway, I'll cut one out and we'll see how it goes. This is what I'll use to cut it out. Obviously you can't use scissors because it'll just crack, it's too thick anyway. You can use, a little hacksaw would be ideal. I don't have a little hacksaw here. I don't have a saw at all. I have files and I have this. So obviously the issue with this is going to be the build-up of heat and melting the plastic. But only one way to find out. That was pretty easy. Pretty easy. If you want to know how the actual windscreens look, just look on eBay for the various reproduction ones. You can get an idea of what it would look like. This is just a test at this point to see how feasible the concept is. I did measure beforehand if it was going to be too thick. It might be the tape. And it was the perfect thickness for fitting through the windscreen slot. I'll just file it off and clean it up and remove the tape. So that's pretty much the end result you're after. Little tab slots in to the slot, and that's roughly the rake that you need to achieve. So I'll just put this one back in. Gotta make sure I'm picking up the same model. Okay, so that is the principle. The windscreen's too tall, so I'll not cut any off this end. I'll cut it off the bottom and bring it down a fair way actually, because it looks a bit comical. But that's the principle, and probably from when I cut it out to this point, 10 minutes. With a piece of plastic that I'm sure we've all got at home. So I think the replicas, well, by the time you considered postage to wherever you are in the world, a windscreen would probably cost you $20 to $30, that's Australian dollars, by the time you got it to your door. If you're doing just one off, then maybe you could justify it, but I've got 7 here and they all need windscreens. So I'll just fix this one up, finish it, and see what you think. So I've trimmed off the bottom, and I've been a bit more intelligent this time, and I've left the tab quite long, make it easier to locate, and then I can just trim the tab off. Could even trim it off while it's in the model. Let's have a look. Also makes it easier to locate on your base plate. There it is, it's in its spot. Still more. Still looks a bit like Noddy's car, but I think we still need to shave off probably 5mm even. We'll go for 4mm. See how that looks. Okay, I'll push the windscreen down to where it looks right. Looks good. Yep, and I've left the tab quite long, so I can locate it in the recess. Push the base plate down so the tab is forced through the slot. Line up your rivet holes so you know everything's in the right place. And there it is. I'll tell you what, everyone that's out there making reproduction windscreens for these things, I'm sorry, but your profit margins are going to vanish, because this looks fantastic. It's sturdy, but not ridiculously so. It's not out of scale so it looks wrong. It actually looks, scale-wise, I'd say that's closer than the originals ever looked. So there it is. Plastic lids off CD covers. That is perfect. Trim off the tab so it's level with the base plate. What a perler. Patent that, put my name on it. That's the, I'm just flabbergasted, but that is the Elite Diecast Restoration patented Dinky Toy windscreen replacement method. And you'd be mad to do anything else. Can't beat it. This is the last of the Sunbeam Talbots. So I've just left it with its tab hanging out there, and I'll just trim that off right before final assembly as she's going together once the body's painted. But again, another perfect windscreen. It really is the way to go. Okay. Fraser Nash. This is going to be interesting. Okay, here's the Fraser Nash windscreen, and I've put a, that's terrible, isn't it? I'm sure you can see there's a bit of a split window effect there, just by running a file down the centre line of the windscreen, and a bit of a camber at the top of the screen, angled slightly towards the side of the car. So, which is how the actual cars in real life look. A beautiful little sports car, and this will give it definitely a more sporty look. Okay. What do we think? Not bad, is it? Let me have a look. Yep. That's great. So that's the last of them done. I might have to trim a little bit off the bottom because it's a much shallower windscreen than the other cars. So I'll just cut more off the base there. And she's good to go. So that's the 7 windscreens done. Okay, paint time. That's one of the Alvis cars there. That'll be all over dark green with a grey interior. And one of the Sunbeam Talbots will be a yellow with green. I think that's the, would have been the leather cover for the roof. So that'll be the same green, just to save, obviously, mixing different colours. It'll look the same anyway. Yeah, that'll be the other Alvis. One of the other Alvises will be a deep burgundy. What the other two will be, I'm not yet sure. The other Sunbeam Talbot will be that colour, the red with a burgundy roof. That was going to be the colour for the Fraser Nash, but I'm going to go a bit fancier and non-standard. We'll just have to wait and see for that one. So there's the two. So I've got them ready to go. That's the all over green Alvis, and that's the Sunbeam Talbot that'll have the green roof. I find that just light coats build up slowly achieves the best results, and I try and put a minimal amount of paint into the grill, obviously because that will just take away some of the detail in the grill when you put the silver in. That's something also to be aware of when you're putting a primer in. Just maybe one pass with the primer over the grill. That should be enough. You don't want to take away too much of the detail of the grill. Okay, that's the greens done. Now for the reds. Slowly chipping away. It's brutal. Having to mask, paint, unmask, paint, remask, paint. By and large, the paint's going down okay. A few little spots to touch up. But it's happening. Okay, there they are, the 6. It's a Sunbeam Talbot, Alvis, Sunbeam Talbot, and then 3 Alvises. Okay. Couple of tips here. These are steering wheels. I've painted them all up. They're good to go. And I have managed to find these pins. See how long they are? They're very long. And they're still quite stiff, but not quite as stiff as, say, a dressmaker's pin, like these things. As you know, they're quite tough to bend. They can quite often snap. and fly in all manner of directions. But what I was going to do is use these to fix the steering wheels to the cars, and because they're so long, it makes them really easy to work with. And also, that's the end result. I think that looks quite nice. But the beauty is that they're nice and long, so you feed them into the hole, so you get that result. Looks great. And then up underneath, bend, reach in there as far as you can with your side cutters. And that is pretty much exactly how Dinky did it. And you can knock it over in a couple of seconds, and that's not coming out. Now, I got those from a shop in Australia. It's called Spotlight, which is just a huge Manchester craft store, sells bedding and material, dressmakers, that sort of stuff. It's massive. Those of you who are watching from Australia will know Spotlight and how huge it is. And they were in their craft area. Just look for pins. You'll find all manner of pins. I think it was mainly for making jewellery and that sort of stuff. And they come in a pack of about 20 or 30, and they're not very much money at all. Might have been $7 Australian. So that's a good idea. Right, it's in. It took 5 seconds. Now the other thing I'm going to try, I've got these 14 headlights, or sorry, 7 headlights, because the Fraser Nash has got a different set of headlights, so 12 headlights, see if I can learn how to count. All the same diameter, obviously. So I cut down my paintbrush with a little offcut at the same or slightly smaller diameter to the inside of the headlamp. So my plan is to dip that into my chrome paint and then whack it in the headlight like that. It still might be a little big, but we'll give it a go. For those of you that are on the wrong side of 40, which is probably every single one of you, our eyesight is definitely no good. It's not going to get any better. And painting grills and headlights is the most nerve-wracking part of what we do when we're restoring these things. So if we can come up with something that's relatively foolproof, because you've only just got to dab this into the headlight recess and maybe give it a little bit of a turn, and it will be job done. Remembering, of course, that at the factory, at the Dinky factory and the Corgi factory and so on, they just were ripping through these cars pretty quickly, detailing headlights. So if you're really after that perfect finish, well, that's not really how they came out of the factory. But you should be aiming for a good quality finish, and I think this will do it, but we'll see. Yep, that's a keeper. Pretty simple. Just like that. And the grills are pretty easy to do because they're quite framed nicely, so you can get in there without too much risk of an accident. That's it. A few more of those to do and steering wheels. Put them all together. Okay, assembly. Let's see if we can't get this one right. So, of course, it'll be the one that plays up. I've done one already. It came out perfect. So it's just a matter of matching the windscreen to the body because they're numbered. I know which one's which. I'll locate the tab in the base plate like so. Force it down so that the base plate can come all the way forward. And she's clicked into place. And then that windscreen's sitting perfectly. Whoop. Sit him down gently. Get one of Dad's artificial rivets. Tiniest little dab, and I mean tiny, on the end of the rivet. Just set it in the hole without getting glue everywhere. Like so. See, the thing with these rivets is they're all different sizes just from the manufacturing process. Gonna drop this all over my car. Spread arrow dye all over my fingers. Come on. Just want to get it started. Like that. Then with the little persuader, some go in easier than others. Voila. It's together, and I'll just trim that with the side cutters, throw some tyres on it, job done. So there they are, all done. They came out fantastic. Bit of an epic build. I don't think I'll tackle 7 models again at the same time, but it was still lots of fun and learnt a lot. I just now have to think of a way to display these things. I've got no idea. I'll see you for the next build and the next adventure, which will hopefully be a lot easier and quicker than this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and any questions, please feel free just to shoot me a message or an email. My email details, contact details are in the video description. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye bye.